Angelina, the Sterling situation. Let's just speak hypotheticals. This has just been so talked about over the last few days within the United fan base. And I've seen some really interesting opinions on this. Some United fans are saying, absolutely not. What on earth would we be thinking? Why on earth would we do that? Some other fans are saying, listen, hear me out on this. Would it be a dream or a disaster?
Disaster's a big word.
Disaster is a very big word. It would be the total wrong move. Can I say that instead? It would.
Is that a disaster then?
It would.
Total wrong move sounds a bit disastrous.
This is hard. It would be. You made me feel bad now if I say disaster. It would be a disaster. OK, you know what? Let's just go with it.
Yeah. Why would it be a disaster?
I want to say Raheem Sterling, I think, has been a brilliant player. I think he seems... I've never met him personally, but he seems like a very likeable person. He has been a brilliant footballer. He has been brilliant for England.
Talking about him like he's 48.
Yeah. I know. I'll get there. He has been, but at the end of the day, when you look at his numbers, he has been in decline. He's 29, he'll be 30 in December. 30. But humour me on this one. If I was to say, would you want to sign Sadio Mane? What's the first doubt that comes into your head?
Age. Not at it right now. Past his best.
So he has only played 11 more games in his career than Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling's played 549 games.
That means he's got experience, no?
It does mean he's got experience, but it means that he's played a lot of football. And when you have a winger that is relying on pace, I think you have to take that into consideration, that this is a 29-year-old about to turn 30, but in reality, I don't know about his personal fitness, but you have to be realistic. Definitely this is probably more likely a 32-year-old in some respects. That's one thing that worries me a little bit. I think that, like I say, he's been brilliant over the years, but his numbers, when you look at the goals and assists, they are dropping. I know it's not been easy at Chelsea, but for me, I don't see bringing Raheem Sterling in for somebody like Marcus Rashford, who, as much as we have criticised him, still was capable of scoring all those goals the other season. Raheem Sterling is nowhere close to that, and I just personally don't see him getting to that level of, scoring 30 goals or something. I just don't see it happening, and it's nothing towards him because, like I say, he seems like a very good person, and I think he's had a great career, and I hope that he figures it out. But for those reasons, it just doesn't add up in my head.
We'll get to Sancho in just a second, but Crookie, I heard you sort of interjecting there, sort of saying, well, that means his experience, or that means this, that means that. Why could it work? Or could... Listen, if you could make it work.
If the only way to get rid of Jadon Sancho is to sign Raheem Sterling, sign me up.
Really?
Yeah, he's a massive improvement on Sancho in terms of his attitude, in terms of what he's done over the course of his career, in terms of the fit.
Wages?
Well, wages, there's not much in it, but obviously...
They're both on the same.
they're both going to have to take a pay cut, which is probably is not going to happen because he's got 3 years left on his deal, Raheem Sterling. I think he feels badly treated by the owners at Chelsea, so they're going to need to pay him an awful lot of money to go away. But if you're asking me, would I rather see United run out against Liverpool on Sunday with Sterling or Sancho in the team? I would go for Sterling. I genuinely would go for Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, I get that. I think my only concern with Jadon Sancho going to Chelsea is... The main thing is we need to sell this guy. We need to sell this guy fast. If he went to Chelsea for the season, is he going to be displayed enough to kind of drum up enough interest? Do you know what I mean? Because the amount
would he start at Chelsea, basically?
Yeah, the amount of options that Chelsea have got.
No.
That's my only thing. We need to, get him, front of house.
But the problem with that is also if he goes to Juventus, they're proposing a loan as well. Man United want an obligation.
Yeah. But at least a loan with Juventus, would he maybe play more with them?
Yeah, but we've been there, done that with Dortmund, and here we are again. It just basically kicked the can down the road.
The problem is it comes down to money. I mean, one of the biggest issues I have with this signing, I got two big takes on it. And the first one is that it goes against what Ineos are trying to build. I think that's the main thing for me. If we strip away the accolades... That's why I don't think
it will happen, by the way.
Correct. I think for Ineos to come in and be this strong on the direction that we're going in, younger players. I'm not going to question Raheem's hunger because I do believe that is there. The wage structure, we're trying to get a hold of that. I think it's something the old Man United would do. I really, really do. And I think we've evolved past that.
Yeah.
However, on a personal, I do have a soft spot for Raheem. I'm a local boy to Wembley. All Man United fans are from London, apart from the real ones like Angelina. He comes from the same borough as me, his Jamaican roots and heritage, and I think the way he's been treated in the media has been disgusting. And I actually think he's one of the most disrespected players of this generation as well when it comes to England as well. So I have that little bit of a soft spot. And actually, Crook, I agree with you. In terms of right now with the output that Marcus Rashford's given us, if we had to play when we play against Liverpool on Sunday, if you say Raheem Sterling has to play that game, right now between him and Marcus Rashford, there would probably be better with Raheem Sterling playing with how Marcus Rashford's playing. But Garnacho's fantastic. But I just feel that for the project of what we're trying to do, it goes against everything that we are. And look, Raheem's had a bad couple of years at Chelsea, but I would second that with, look how many managers he's played under, who's been good in that time. Cole Palmer's been a revelation now. They're starting to get a little bit more calm. But, you know, I know he's a better player than what is being portrayed. This is a player who scored 136 Premier League goals. Like, he's very, very... 4 Premier Leagues. But our squad, if he was in it, our squad wouldn't be any worse. However, with the wages that are attached and the deal that it would be, I think we should stay well clear. That's where I'm at with it.
I think you make a brilliant point about the upheaval at Chelsea, because I think I'm right in saying that at Liverpool, he only really played under Brendan Rodgers. At City, he had Pep Guardiola as a constant presence in the dugout. And all of a sudden, he goes to Chelsea. He's had 4 managers. So I think he has struggled with that. Yeah. If you go back to the first day of last season, they played Liverpool, I think I'm right in saying, and he was excellent in that game. There was talk that he might be included in the England squad for that September international break. So I'm not going to write him off as a has-been. Much like my young co-host does, yeah. If 30 is over the hill, I'm in big trouble, by the way.
You are, yeah.
Big
Yeah, it's making it sound old, right? Depends how you look after yourself, doesn't it, Crookie?
Yeah, I'm definitely in trouble.
In terms of some of the worst signings post-Fergie, I mean, we're talking about Sancho potentially leaving, and it just got us thinking, what are some of the worst signings post-Fergie? Is Sancho in that? So we're going to go with a... I don't even want to call this a top 3. It's
a flop 3.
A flop 3.
Oh,
there you
I
go.
like it.
A flop 3.
Yeah.
Man United, we've spent an awful lot of money, over £1 billion since Sir Alex has left the football club. We've wasted some money on some big names, some not so big names. Honestly, there's been some bad ones. Angelina, we'll start with you. Give me your 3 players who you would put at the top of your flop list since post-Fergie.
For me, Paul Pogba. Just because the excitement of the return, the fanfare of it, you're thinking, you know, one of the most talked about names in European football. He's back at Man United. And it just never clicked for me personally. I just never saw the Pogba that I was expecting. It was a huge, huge disappointment. And then I think for the club, you know, you've let him go. I think we were talking about earlier, you know, you let him go for nothing. You pay all this money for him, and then he goes for nothing as well. I think it's just a disaster in every single category. So Pogba would be one.
Okay, other 2? Who you got?
Other 2, I'm going with Alexis Sanchez. It was just...
Need you say more?
Do you know what I mean? Like, again, the fanfare of it with the piano and getting the number 7 and all this stuff that was going on, and it was just, and the dogs and the Instagram, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
It was an absolute mess. The only positive was the Henry Mkhitaryan swap thing. We got rid of him. So, you know, like that's the one thing we can take from it. But no, another one that was just built up to be something and was just a complete disaster and just never got off the ground and really was just like, what are we doing? It was very disappointing.
It wasn't the one. And your last one?
Now, I was battling with myself with Anthony Martial, who I've spoken about before on this show, and my frustrations that he managed to claw and cling on to the club for as long as he did. But I think I am going to go with Jadon Sancho, and I'm kind of going with a similar theme of these 3 of the expectation versus reality being like night and day. Again, we got Jadon Sancho. He was in demand. We are expecting And absolutely, you look at these other players that have come off the Dortmund conveyor belt. You look at Haaland, you look at Jude Bellingham, absolute superstars. And then you've got Jadon Sancho, and it's just been a complete flop. So I think those three, just for the expectation versus reality, the most disappointing, frustrating ones.
Okay, Crookie, give us your three.
Well, I've got to agree on Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
He was let go from the football club by Sir Alex Ferguson, who is a pretty good judge of players because he didn't like his attitude. He came back for a huge amount of money. He still had a poor attitude. And then he left again on a free transfer. And I think the frustration with him is clearly he had the talent.
Bags of it.
You look at that game against Man City at the Etihad when he turned it around on his own. I remember actually being at Watford. I think it was Ollie's last game.
Yeah.
And he came off the bench, Pogba. Yeah. And he basically played for himself, but he was the best player on the pitch. You think, well, why don't you do that every week?
When he goes away
when
France.
the chips are down. He's won major honours with France. So attitude was shocking. Meant he didn't apply himself properly. So I think that was unfulfilled talent. Actually, if you look at where he is now, Paul Pogba, and there's probably a little bit of a microcosm of his entire career. So Paul Pogba is in there for me. Anthony Martial, I'm going to stick in. 50 million down the drain, that's the song. But actually, it's true. It was an absolute waste of money. Signed on transfer deadline night. I think Jim White was still working for Sky then when it was, an entertainment channel on deadline day. And there was so much furore around him. This kid who could maybe win the Ballon d'Or. A lot of the add-ons actually
the clause in it, mate.
were centred around that.
What year do you think Monaco went for? We ain't getting that. What's it? 2016, 17?
Yeah.
But then he got a new contract.
He started off really well.
Absolutely brain the sheet. He scored against Liverpool, actually. At least he gave us moments.
That's what I was going to say.
But again, by the end, he down tools and he wasn't trying to get fit last season. He wasn't even
that was
bothered
the
to turn up and
frustrating
watch
thing
games.
about it. Yeah.
The injuries just hit him like a ton of trade.
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to get fit. Where is he now, by the way?
He's still a free agent. Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Third
one. Again, not necessarily about talent. There's a common theme here because they're all good players who didn't apply themselves. Angel Di Maria, I just saw as such a wasted transfer. I was at his debut against QPR. He was absolutely sensational that night. Even the game against Leicester, the game that actually kicked them into life as eventual Premier League champions. Vardy scored his first goal in the Premier League that day. 3-0 up and lost 5-3. He was brilliant for the first half in that game as well. I think for him, the biggest regret is what might have been because he is a sensational player.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the football club, Van Gaal was the manager at the time, probably just didn't manage him on a human level correctly.
Yeah, and after that situation, I
think
think at his house, I think he...
Yeah.
Didn't have to be the end, though.
No,
didn't have to be the end.
Yeah, there could have been a better one. I mean, for me, I fly through mine really quickly. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's still part of the new school Man United. Anthony, mate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Some people could be watching and saying, listen, there's still something there. Give him a bit more time. He's in his third season now. I don't see it. I see a player very, very limited in ability. I see a player who, in terms of mentality-wise, I think has a bit of a strut. It's going to happen. But
he believes in himself.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
He's the only one. At least he backs himself. I will give him that. He backs himself.
And I hope I'm wrong. I hope by the end of this season, miraculously, I go...
He'll get a hat-trick now.
Great. He gave us an amazing moment against Liverpool last time out, by the way, which was brilliant. But he is way up there, north of £80 million. Absolutely shocking. So for me, he's up there. I've got, obviously, Lex Sanchez, you spoke about that. And the other one for me was Donny van de Beek, actually, which sounds really harsh. Good one. Sounds really harsh because I love the guy. I feel sorry that it didn't work out. But actually, in terms of coming to the club, with a lot of expectation, I know the price wasn't astronomical. It felt like a bit of a snip to get him at that price. But
remember how excited we all were
really
about
excited,
that signing.
And it just, nothing, no moments, no iconic goals. No, that day when we beat this team,
I can't remember one game.
I'm genuinely trying to think
when we
the
lost
same.
against Palace.
Did he?
Yeah.
Crikey,
I'm trying to think of a moment that I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
I think the most damning indictment there is that obviously he was signed by Ollie. When Ten Hag comes in, you think, well, he played under him at Ajax. This is going to be a marriage made in heaven. And he dropped him pretty quickly. And you think,
exactly.
You've got no chance, fella. Well, if he's not picking you, you've got no chance.
Exactly, absolutely no chance. So that's awful for me. In terms of away from transfer fees, though, back to homegrown players, just to Scott McTominay really quickly. He's left the club.
You were going to put him in the flop.
No. Absolutely not. Look, 255 games for Man United. Come through the academy, gets what it means to play for Man United. How big of a miss is he going to be for Man United?
I think he'll be a miss in the dressing room. And I think, unlike Van der Beek, he did come up with some big moments last season. You know, he was always there to score an important goal. He did it for Scotland as well. But I got a bit of stick for saying this on talkSPORT. Perry Groves wasn't happy. I think if United want to kick on and get back to, challenging for the top four, challenging for titles, realistically, Scott McTominay isn't going to be part of that journey.
When you hear Rio Ferdinand say you need players, he said on his podcast,
I get
you need
the
players
argument.
like this. You need a Park. You need, and that might be disrespectful with Park, but you need a Darren Fletcher. You need a John O'Shea.
Do you know what? I 100% get that. But all those players you've named had superstars around them. If Scott McTominay played in a Ferguson team, we'd probably be talking about him like we do Darren Fletcher and John O'Shea. He hasn't, and I don't think he's good enough to carry this team and to take us back to where we want to go.
Angelina, do you think we'll miss his attitude, though? In a time when Manchester United's been quite torrid in terms of how to conduct yourself, how to turn up and do your job with no controversy, will we miss that around the change room for some of the younger players and senior players?
Yeah, of course. I've heard a lot about, the way that he would carry himself at Carrington and the way that he would, approach like the younger players and stuff like that. And he was really helpful and stuff. But is that a reason to keep a player at your football club? No, it's not. The fact that he's been there since he was 5, call me callous, but I don't really care. That's great. That's great. And really best of luck to him. And he did give us some great moments. But I've spoken about it before. This is excellent business because you have to cut the cord. His contract was getting ready to expire. We needed to get rid of him for some money. You have to look, if Man United want to be competing with Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, you have to kind of look at the moves they're making and think, are we in that same bracket? Would Scott McTominay be playing for an Arsenal? I understand that we're not at the same level as them, but if we want to get to that level, you've got to start looking at things almost in that head, like put your City cap on. Could you see this for them? No, it's not the standards for them, so it shouldn't be the standards for us. I agree that he did some great things. I get what Rio was saying. If Man United were a team competing at the top and you have the stars around, I get it. But this was a situation where he simply is not good enough, to be completely honest. And you have to cut that cord, make smart business, get some money for somebody who's been at the club all his life. And that's it. You've just got to keep it moving. If we want to be lifting a Premier League trophy at some point, you have to start realising what's working and what's not. And whilst he did work in some capacities getting those 10 goals, overall, he wasn't good enough.
Ruthless.
I think she's right, though. I think she's spot on. And actually, it helped pay for Agate as
there
well.
you go, then.
Yeah, and time will tell. Hopefully, we're not sitting back thinking, this Agate guy. Scott McTominay.
I was going to say, that's going to get clipped up if that happens.
But no, I do hear what you're saying. It's a shame, but I think it's a natural ceiling and shelf life that's kind of been reached.